Everybody? My name is Dillon Jewett, joined by Ayush and Pierce Allen. As always, Mark is unable to make it today, so it's just going to be us three in the studio today. Um, uh, First time for me being back on in almost exactly a month. I've been dealing with some family problems, so glad to be back on the podcast and get back to work here in the War Room. So today we're going to be focused on the draft. Obviously, considering the draft just wrapped up about I guess it would have been almost 2 weeks ago now already. Uh, a little over a week ago. And what we're going to do is we're going to go team by team for the NFC, and we're going to discuss the our draft grades that we have for each of these teams, break down picks, and worth noting that we're also throwing in the like all-encompassing picture um, for these grades. So one example I'll throw out there is like the Dallas Cowboys traded fourth round draft pick for Jonathan Mingo mid-season this past season. So that's kind of like factored in to a certain degree. Obviously, it's a fourth round draft pick, so it's not like we're talking about a first round draft pick. So it's not a end all be all that Jonathan Mingo didn't have a big year this year. But and likewise for big trades in drafts such as the Falcons and the Rams in the blockbuster first round trade that they made. Um, so yeah, here after the introduction, we're going to get going on that. And but really quick, let's what's the scoop, gentlemen? How have we been in the past? What have I missed? How did I listen to a little bit of last week's episode? How have things gone, gentlemen?
Pretty good. I mean, a whole
Yeah,
lot of yap, you know. I mean, just
Yeah.
casual yap sessions, basically.
definitely.
Um, I feel like we gotta, at some point, I feel like we should look back at our top fives. I think we have them written down somewhere, but
Hmm.
and see how they kind of turned out. And because I mean, I had Matthew Golden outside my top five wide receivers, and now he's my number one wide receiver. So it's crazy how things can change in the span
Gosh.
of a week.
Is it the name thing? Golden on a Packers jersey?
Yeah, that's aura right there.
Okay.
The, the
Is
number
that
kind
number
of
aura?
nerves. The
Yeah,
Is
number
that
that I
kind
was
of
number
about to
aura?
bring that
nerves.
up.
Nah, the
I was about to bring
22
22?
that up, man. 22.
is a
That's
little weird,
not.
but
That's not good for a
Okay.
receiver.
Yeah, I think
there's
he
meaning.
had some
There's
aura and then
meaning
he
behind
lost it real
for it.
quick.
Um, yeah, I think the 81 would have been better in my opinion, but he's gonna make 22 have aura. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's run the introduction and we'll dive straight into it. All right. Uh, so yeah, like I said, we're gonna go alphabetically, A to Z. There's 16 teams we'll discuss today uh, in the NFC. So let's let me pull up my tab here. Okay, let's kickstart things off with Arizona Cardinals. I'll first off, I'm going to do a little bit of a rundown on what they were able to acquire on draft day. So, first round, pick 16, they go get Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss. Will Johnson, corner, Michigan is their pick at 47 in the second round. Jordan Birch, Oregon, edge rusher at pick 78. Cody Simon, Ohio State linebacker at 115. Denzel Burke, Ohio State corner, 174. Hayden Connor, Texas guard, 211. Um, uh, Keaton Crawford, Nevada safety at 225. Ayush, I'll start with you. What is your impression of this draft class and grade?
I really liked it honestly. I gave this draft class as a whole an A. Um, I mean, 1 through 5, rounds 1 through 5, I really like all the picks, especially Jordan Birch, who I really liked out of Oregon. seeing him play a couple of games. I really like how he comes off the ball. And obviously, Walter Nolan, ton of potential in him. Will Johnson is potentially a steal in the second round. Um, and if those two can put it together, they can be two stars for the Cardinals and kind of really get their defense back on track. And then both the Ohio State guys, I think, um, have kind of done their thing uh, on obviously a national championship roster. They know how to win. Um, I might be wrong about this, but didn't Denzel Burke have like higher hype at some point in the past couple
Oh
of
yeah,
years, or am I
yeah.
thinking
He
of someone
was.
else?
No, yeah, you're thinking of the right guy. He was coming into 2023, he was on track to be this kind of day 2 potential with day 1 potential type of guy. And then a lot of regression this past year. There was also a game against Oregon. If I recall, Evan Stewart literally like ruined his life.
I
Um,
see.
like midlife crisis type thing. And yeah, so his stock took a big hit this year.
Gotcha. Yeah, but maybe who knows? Maybe someone in the Cardinals coaching staff can kind of help him turn it around. And
Yeah.
if the potential is still there, then I mean the two corners can potentially be there for a long time. So I really like just kind of their emphasis on defense. It's obviously been a big need for him for a while, and I like the way they addressed it. And hopefully the guys can pan out the way they hope.
Yeah. Pierce, I think he's mid peanut butter sandwich,
Sorry, fellas.
right?
Yeah.
Is it peanut butter jelly or peanut butter? What do we got
Honey.
here?
I got honey with
Oh,
it.
peanut butter
Peanut
honey?
butter
That's not
honey.
bad. See,
Honey.
that's not a
No,
bad
it's not bad at
alternative
all.
in the
There
event
was
that you're out of jelly.
That's true. When I was
Yeah.
younger, it was peanut butter and banana all the time, though.
Oh yeah.
But to this, yeah. This draft class for Arizona, they really, honed in. I mean, it's obvious when you look at the picks, but just honing in on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, they've got. I think they have what they need in terms of their offensive line, which I don't know if it's entirely, but they have their receivers or receiver. Their running game is pretty solid still, and then they got their quarterback. And as a joking way, I saw this on social media. Picking Will Johnson in round 2 might, or having him on the squad might actually make Marvin Harrison Jr. want it more, playing against one of his
Mm,
collegiate rivals. But
yeah.
I feel like just those two picks alone, Walter Nolan and Will Johnson, you've already seen the production from Will Johnson as a guy that can be left on an island and just shut down one half of the field. And then Walter Nolan has a pretty he's got an average floor, I'd say, but his ceiling is through the roof, I think, in my mind. I mean, after watching him for 2 years at A&M and then seeing, didn't really watch much Ole Miss tape, but saw some film from the Senior Bowl. If he can put it all together and realize that you can't take 3 or 4 plays off before go making a big play, you have to do that every play. He has the potential of being a very good defensive tackle in this league, and he's has the potential of making a lot more money than he already is now.
Yeah. Yeah, Walter Nolan's a really good player. You're right. It's all about consistent. I mean, it's all about consistency for every single player in the NFL, but Walter Nolan is definitely a player who has uh, been hot and cold way too often in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I hope that with the right coaching, he can find a little bit more consistency and fluidity. But yeah, there was clearly a objective for this team during the draft, and it was to build up the defense. I really like what they did at the D line and the defensive back rooms. And you brought up Denzel Burke a little bit earlier. I think Denzel Burke best projects as a nickel, honestly. That wasn't my initial impression, but I think as a nickel, you might be able to kind of correct the woes that he and the bad habits and whatnot that he adopted in 2024. There was a lot of biting on routes too, and you're not going to get burned vertically near as much out of the slot as you would on the boundary. So I think that might be a healthy spot for him to play, especially given he's a very high tenacity, high motor type of guy. Who can stop the run. So I think that he would fit in pretty well in the nickel. He's also built for that physically. So But yeah, Will Johnson was obviously a very high quality value pick. Very much centralized. The reason he fell was very much centralized around the fact that he has his injuries from this past season made him fall significantly. There were also question marks about his speed, even though he did eventually run, if I'm not mistaken, at his individual pro day a couple days before the draft, and I think it was mid 4.4s. Maybe I'm making that up. But yeah, I do think it was definitely odd that Will Johnson fell that far, especially considering there's not like the injury concerns are present, but I didn't think they were near as bad as I mean, my impression of what the injury problems were that they were very correctable and like easy to overcome. So that was surprising to me that he fell that bad, and that means that I'm assuming that means those medical reports that they were able to receive were much worse than initially expected. But character, he's a top tier character, as per what I've heard. But yeah, I really like how they built up this defense. And another name to throw out there is Jordan Birch. He was a top 75 player for me when it was all said and done. Top tier athlete at his size. And even though he's roughly 290, 280 pounds, he's going to play the edge and he's going to look really natural at the edge. So it's not like some guy that you typically would want to play. He's built like a player that should play 3 tech, but he's much more athletic than that. So I think he's natural at 5 tech. So, but yeah, this is a good class for them. I guess we can go around a circle here in just a second, but I gave him A minus. Ayush, what was your
I gave him an
grade
A.
on them? A Pierce.
I mean,
Okay.
it's a really good draft class for Arizona.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be fairly okay. I think we're going to be fairly consistent on these grades within like what I think we'll be in kind of unity, I guess. Consensus, that's the word. Within these grades, because one thing I noticed about this class is that there were a couple classes that were like, I think we'll talk about the Saints here in a bit, the 49ers, and this is me specifically talking about the NFC, but there's a couple of classes here that are a little wonky, but for the most part, I don't think there were very many teams that had a, terrifyingly bad draft. And I think that I almost wonder if that had to do with the fact that, at least in my opinion, this class wasn't as incredible as we've seen in the past, especially not compared to last year. This was a very average class in my eyes. So I wonder if there was almost like a fear to trade up and teams were just like, let's just stay put and let's see how the board falls. And I think because of that, because of their patience, I think a lot of these teams got a couple check marks in that box because they were able to get some good value. So other than who was it? The Falcons trading up. I think Falcons are the only team that really kind of just got fooled. But okay, so let's move on to the next team here, which I just prefaced, I guess. Atlanta Falcons. Pick 15, Jalen Walker. Pick 26, James Pierce Jr. That's who they traded up for. And yeah. Xavier Watts, 96, safety, by the way. I probably should have said the positions of the other players. Jalen Walker's edge, James Pierce edge. Xavier Watts, safety, Notre Dame at 96. Billy Bowman Jr., Oklahoma safety, 118. Jack Nelson, Wisconsin, offensive tackle, 218. I'll go first this time. Big fan of Jalen Walker. I like that pick, and I've mocked that pick a number of times as well. That honestly, from the get-go, that always felt like that was the pick that just felt the most natural in this draft, like beforehand as well. That was one pick that I was penciling in every single time that I was like going through these kind of mental exercises. It just felt so natural for Jalen Walker to go to Atlanta because of the fact that you get the linebacker edge rusher hybrid, and they need a linebacker and they need an edge rusher. So and you get the fact that he's from Georgia. He went to University of Georgia, so not a long drive there from Athens to Atlanta. So it just felt very natural, character fit, everything. At pick 15, that's like right where he should have gone. So it made perfect sense to me. James Pierce, on the other hand, not a big fan of that pickup. He's a good player, still a little raw. I think that he has a lot of work to do as a run defender, and his very thin, like lower half. So he's not able to set edges. He's someone that can kind of like wiggle his way through to be able to get through and make a splash play in the run game, but he's not someone that can set an edge and just like plant and force runs inside. So, and that compounded by the fact that his he has character concerns, off the field problems, and that just didn't. It's not even the fact that they traded what they did to be able to go up and get him, because actually, could someone, while I'm talking, could someone locate the haul exactly so I could verbalize that? But
Atlanta
it's
gave
not
him
even
pick 46 for,
and
I
a
think they
first
gave him
round though.
and a
I think
few
it was
and a future
something.
firsts too.
Was there something else though?
Here, hold on.
I'll pull it up right now. It says Rams traded 26 and 101 to Atlanta for 46 to 42 and a 2026 first.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So basically a first and a third for a second, like seventh, and a future first.
Yeah, I'm not. They overpaid, especially given the player. Because if this would have been for someone that was just like, even if it was Mike Green, who I liked more as both a player and I know that there's character concerns there too, but if I'm going to take the risk on on someone with character concerns and of that same type of archetype, I would have done it on Mike Green, and I still wouldn't have done that in general. That was a little bit of overkill. I would have just stayed put, because these guys are gonna. This edge rusher class was remarkable. So actually, they would have picked at what? Oh my gosh, they would have picked
46.
at 46.
Yeah, 46.
You could have gone out there and gotten Mike Green.
Mhm.
And that's kind of insane to me,
Seeing
that
how
they
the
would do
draft-
that. And like I said, I don't want to like go overkill here on James Pierce, because I think he's a good player, but I was I'm not. I was never really on the bandwagon for him. Like early on, I was like, okay, this is a good player and first round type of guy. But as time progressed, it just didn't seem natural to pick James Pierce in the top. Even like, I guess this is right around the range where I would start to consider him, but I still wouldn't like. There was a number of other guys at the end of the first round that I would have been more vigilant towards getting. Xavier Watso, great pick. I love that pick. He was a top 50 guy for me, getting him at 96 at a position of need. Very high value pick. Billy Bowman, decent pick there at 118. Jack Nelson, 218. I like that pick as well. So, okay, Ayush, tell me your opinion, and then Pierce, you'll follow that up, and then we can go back around in a circle and say our grades.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Jalen Walker, I thought was a really good pick. The trade. I honestly don't, like you said, I don't mind him going up. But the haul was just not worth the pick that they got in return. And James Pierce, I do like him as a prospect, but I'm not sure if the Falcons are just the right fit, because I feel like the Falcons could use someone that's a little more pro ready than James Pierce is. James Pierce, I feel like, is a guy that's going to have to really be molded into kind of what they want him to be, I guess. And I'm not sure if he's going to turn into that exactly for him.
Yeah. Can I interject real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I think I will note something that, and I'll give them a little bit of like forgiveness on this end, but so it's been kind of common over the past couple of years that the Falcons have had, like commonly known that the Falcons don't have a pass rush. Their pass rush has been really, really bad over the past couple of years. I think the past 2 years, I know one of the past 2 years, they were literally 32nd in the league in sacks. And I think last year it wasn't much better. But My assumption here is that so James Pierce, the one thing about James Pierce is he's going to get you sacks immediately. Like I could see him being a 7 sack type of guy from year one. But I think to kind of add on to what you're saying, Yush, I don't. I think that Falcon, even though sacks are the issue at the edge rush position, I think they need just like impact guys at the edge rush
Just more
position more than they
complete
do the
stuff.
sacks. Yeah, they need more impact guys, and there were so many guys available to be able to
Mhm.
take even at 46 without having to trade anything. Or, dude, you could have leapfrogged like if Ezraku was still fall. I mean, Ezraku went to 44. You could have leapfrogged Dallas, sent away a 5th round draft pick, and you're sitting at 43. You get Ezraku, who's a better player. You don't have off the field problems. You get the all encompassing, like ready to go. You get the immediate pass rush, and you get the impact as well because he's able to be a lot more competent in the run game than Pierce is. So, all right. Anyways, go ahead, Ayush.
Yeah, I think there's ton of potential with Pierce. I think if he kind of just grows in the right way, then it could be a good pick for him. But I think just the whole that they gave up and seeing who else was on the board, I feel like they could have gone in a slightly better direction with that pick.
Mhm.
Xavier Watts, I really like that pick. I remember he had a really nice game against A&M. What was the first or second game, whatever game that was this past season. So I think he'll fit in really nicely. I know that he can get picks pretty well, and all that jazz. So I think that'll be a good addition for him. Um, so I mean, they didn't have a ton of picks, but I think for the most part they kind of did their best with them. Um, like you said, outside of uh, the trade up, I think that they did really well. And if I honestly, if they'd stayed put, I think it would have been even better. Um, but overall, I think it was a really solid draft, and I think they addressed pretty much most of the needs that they needed to, especially on the defensive end. So overall, I think it was well done.
Pierce.
Yeah, and Atlanta again. I think they overpaid for James Pierce. I mean, let alone I've seen his tapes. He's dynamite as a pass rusher, and of course, I'm agreeing with what you said, Dylan. Just I feel like he's just too. I mean, 245 at 6'5". You should have a little. I feel like in my mind, you should have a little bit more weight to you,
Oh
especially
yeah,
lower
no,
down,
hundred
just to
percent.
set the edge. But yeah, he'll definitely
That
be the.
will that BMI, by the way, his body mass index, uh, it's like it's not good. Hang
No,
on,
it's
just 1 second. Let me pull it up because that's like really poor. BMI 28.9 at the edge rush position. So just let's do this for example. So even a point difference is or like a 1 point difference is pretty dramatic. Let's just kind of judging in that genre of players. Donovan Ezeraku is a 31.4 body mass index. Who else is in that genre? Mike Green. He's going to be
maybe.
31.3. Who else is in that? Abdul Carter, 31.9. So just you can kind of catch my drift here that that's a pretty like a 1 point difference in BMI between those types of players is noteworthy, but then you're getting to the point where that's a 3 point difference between like him and Abdul Carter. That's pretty dramatic. So
Mhm.
go ahead, Pierce.
Absolutely. I mean, the Jalen Walker, not Jalen. Yeah, Jalen Walker, the Walker pickup. I mean, that's exactly what they need in terms of linebacker and edge hybrid. James Pierce. I mean, I'm gonna go to lengths to say that maybe teams were seeing the attitude problems of Mike Green and James Pierce, and he possibly could have dropped all the way to 45 or 46, and they wouldn't have to trade up for
Yeah,
him.
that's true.
But yeah, the other picks, solid pickups. I mean, this is probably me just tooting my own horn as a Denton County native for Billy Bowman, but I feel like that guy's got a lot to prove. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, he played, I think, a year too many at Oklahoma, but I still feel like he can turn some heads as a good, uh, backup option for that secondary. But otherwise, they address the edge. I mean, that's still I think that's good though if you want to have a good edge because you still got AJ Terrell at corner. Who's opposite of him for Atlanta?
I don't know.
Do they still have Akuda? Do they still have Jeff Okuda over there in Atlanta?
He's not starting though.
I
Mike
don't think he's
Hughes
number
is
two,
opposite.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, he's not even on the roster. He might not be on their team anymore.
it's just
Okuda.
yeah, just back to my point. I mean, I just feel like they've addressed a lot of needs on that defense because they
Yeah.
have had an okay, like a good defense in terms
Yeah.
of points per game and stuff like that. But in terms of blitzing the passer, I remember last year I watched the Cowboys Atlanta game, and Grady Jarrett got his like third sack of the year, and that was almost as much as the team had at that point.
Yeah.
And getting the edge rushers, the presence to pass rush is is a need that they felt like they needed to double dip in,
Yeah.
and they didn't.
Man, it's really weird though. Like Leonard Floyd, I forgot that they signed Leonard Floyd too. So they literally just and then Arnold and Bickety is that same type of like skinny pass rush, like pin your ears back and just go.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it kind of odd how redundant that group is. It's almost kind of like what we were talking about a couple weeks ago with the Jets quarterback room. Um, Jordan Travis retired, by the way.
Yeah.
But like it's just you just hit that one hurts him. But it's just like your backup is the same as your starter, just worse. Your third string is the same as your backup, just worse. But it's a lot like that. I mean, this one's a little bit more schematically questionable though, because it's different from a quarterback. But
Real quick, real quick. Where is Matthew Judon playing ball right now, or did he retire?
He might be a free agent.
Because I do
Or
remember he was.
am I tripping? Maybe he signed with the Browns. Is that right? Nope. I am tripping. He's a free agent.
I do remember his time playing with the Falcons. I think it was before last year. He was a good presence in terms of the edge, in terms of blitzing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably what Atlanta saw in James Pierce or in Walker.
But Judon's a big boy though. He's a big boy edge rusher. He's 280. So Pierce is a skinny, flexible, speedy pass rusher off the edge. And I just don't think that was the responsible thing for them to do here, especially not at the price tag. So
I could definitely see him running in on third downs just to blitz the passer.
Yeah, but they can't do that because you used another first round draft pick to go get him, so you have to use him more than just the third down guy. So
hopefully that's the conditioning coach can put some weight on him this offseason then.
Yeah. All right, let's go around in a circle super quick. Say the grade: B-, Ayush,
B-.
Pierce.
I had it as a B.
Okay, gotcha. We're gonna pick up the pace big time here because we're at half an hour and we've covered 2 out of the 16 teams. So let's step on the gas here. Number 8, Carolina Panthers are up next. They picked at number 8, got Tet McMillan, Arizona wide receiver, Nick Scorton at 51, Texas A&M edge, Princey Uman 77, Ole Miss edge, Trevor Etienne, 114. Georgia running back. That's what they got with the Jonathan Mingo trade pick. 122, Lathan Ransom, Ohio State safety. Cameron Jackson, Florida defensive tackle at 140. At 163, they got Mitchell Evans, Notre Dame tight end. Jimmy Horn, Colorado wide receiver at 208. Tet was a good pick. Obviously, big fan of him. Brought in a lot of help on the edge rush room. And see, this is kind of what I'm in contrast to what the Falcons did. The Panthers brought in kind of different flavors of edge rushers. Nick Scorton, big boy, 5 tech, edge setter. Princely Uman 7 tech, agile, speedy off the edge. Type of guy. And then they decided to go get another running back because they just can't help themselves. So they got 18 running backs on their roster, and then or something like that. Lathan Ransom was good value. Oh, you got Dowdle, you got Brooks, you got missing someone
Chuba
there.
Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard.
Hubbard.
How did I miss Hubbard? Okay. So let's fly through this one really quick. Ayush, Pierce, give me some like bullet point things really quick that stand out to you.
I mean, for me, it's mostly the same of what you just said. You know, they
Mm.
addressed another receiver need to pair with. I'm blanking on his name, but
Uh,
another tall receiver to
Thielen.
Leggett.
well, Thielen and Leggett.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
feel like that receiving room. If this doesn't work now for Bryce Young, I don't know what will, because I feel like he has all the size the sizable receivers that he can throw
Yeah.
to.
The problem is they're all super. I mean, other than Thielen, but he's older. But his guys are very like unpolished. I'll say that.
True, true. And then of course edge. You hit it right on the head. You hit the hammer nail on the head because getting Nick Scorton to set the edge, he can get up to the quarterback, yes, but a guy he's the I don't want to say like this is what he's going to play like, but he reminds me a little bit of a DeMarcus Lawrence where he is.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's his role. Yeah.
I can go get the quarterback when I'm needed, but I can stick my nose in the run game and go make tackles for losses as well.
Mm.
So, and then of course Prince. I don't even want to say his last name. I don't even know it, but yeah, him coming off the edge, he's going to be that guy that can get after the quarterback every play, and then added some small pieces here and there after that. But I was really, and of course, just the pre-draft stuff that they did as well by picking up Bobby Brown, the third from out of A&M, just the offseason acquisitions. I feel like Carolina set their defense up pretty well in the draft, in free agency, and then offensively as well.
Yeah. Ayush?
yeah. I think there's some nice things that they did. I really like the Tet pick, and I think that he can be the number one for the Panthers, basically day one. I also like the Jimmy Horn pick. I think
Yeah.
he's gonna be a guy that you gotta kind of work him into it. But with Thielen in the room as well, I feel like he can learn a lot from Thielen and just work in the slot really well. Because I feel like when you look at the Vikings, and I know KJ Osborne was there with Thielen. I'm not sure if Naylor was, but both of those guys have turned out to be really well as number three
Yeah.
receivers for the Vikings. Jimmy Horn, I feel like could maybe do that as well. Um, I wish they went with more secondary in the draft. I'm not sure if there was secondary value from where they're picking, but like the third round pick, I'm not mad about getting Princely, but I feel like getting a corner or something like that probably would have been better. Just somewhere in there. Maybe even instead of taking ETN, get a corner in there somewhere. Um, but I mean, I think they really did a really nice job getting good receivers. Scorton, obviously, like y'all said, is a guy that can do some real damage. Um, I honestly don't know much about Cam Jackson. I've heard the name, and I'm
He's
not
a
putting
big
a
boy,
face to
like
it.
6'7", defensive tackle from Florida.
Yeah. So I mean, they've addressed needs. I'm not sure how well all of them will fit. Like Mitchell Evans, haven't really heard of at all, but it's the tight end. It was obviously a need
He's
for the
solid.
team. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think wide receiver room. I think they did a really good job of addressing and getting guys that can really fit well into it. But outside of that, I think they could have done a good job of maybe diversifying some of their other picks a little better.
Yeah, I'd also say I'm looking at the depth chart right now. This has got to be one of the most messy depth charts I've ever seen. It's just they like their concept of like getting Bryce Young weapons is like B and C tier type guys across the board. So and that I guess that has not much to do with this draft, but they I hope Tet turns into like this A tier type guy, and Xavier Leggett too. I really liked him coming out of school. He didn't have a great rookie year, but he didn't have much of an opportunity to have a great rookie year, I guess. But I they need to flip their mindset
Renfro's
around
there too.
here.
I just realized.
Yeah, but they
forgot
need
about
to flip their mindset around here and start being like, how can we turn these two players into this one like A caliber type guy? So because there's not a lot of superstars on this team. There's Derek Brown, but like otherwise, maybe I'm missing someone. Am I missing JC Horn?
There was one. I think I don't know if you guys brought it up yet. they did bring Hunter Renfro out of temporary
Yeah,
retirement
yeah. I
as
think
well.
you just said that.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Um,
I didn't hear.
no,
But
you're good.
that could be
Um,
a surprise pick if you ask me. A surprise pickup that could help out
yeah,
Bryce Young a
maybe.
ton this year.
Yeah. Okay. And all right. Let's go. Let's say our grades really quick. I got a B plus. Ayush,
I give him a C.
I
and
give him a
then
B
Pierce.
plus. B plus.
Gotcha. Okay,
It was
that's
a
actually
good.
a lot lower than I thought.
It was a good
You would
draft
say
class. I'd say it was for
Ayush.
them.
Um. Okay.
Yeah,
Now.
Chicago.
All right. Chicago. Pick
That's
10
nice.
tight ends, Colson Loveland out of Michigan, Luther Burden, Missouri, wide receiver at 39, Ozzie Trapilo, Boston College offensive lineman at 56, Shamar Turner, Texas A&M defensive tackle at 62, Ruben Hypolites, Maryland linebacker 132, Zoff Frazier, UTSA cornerback 169. Luke Newman, Michigan State guard at 195. Kyle Monangai, Rutgers running back at 233. I didn't notice that Kyle Monangai pickup until just now. I really like that pickup. Um, okay. Uh, Colson Loveland was a big surprise at 10. I don't think a lot of people had that on their radar, but my thinking with that was that their plan was going to be because you still have Cole Kmet there, and I like Cole Kmet. I think he's a decent player. But my thinking was maybe they have plans to use him as a slot almost, and a pure F tight end,
you
which
stole
is
my talking point, bro.
oh yeah. Uh,
That was smart for that.
my thinking was he was gonna be used as they were gonna go all in on the F tight end, the H back, if you will. But but then they draft Luther Burden at 39, which was incredible value. So I found that kind of odd because you got a Dunze and Moore. You already know who your boundary guys are going to be. So I figured that Loveland was almost going to be that slot type of figure. And then they go get Luther Burden. So um, they add to the offensive line and defensive tackle rooms in the later portion of the second round. Um, the day 3 was all right. I like the Zoff Frazier pickup. I like the Kyle Monangai, but yeah, I almost kind of wonder if they almost overdid it for Caleb in terms of weapons because sometimes it can be almost too unhealthy to have
Mhm.
a certain amount of weapons for your young quarterback. The good thing is we know how confident of a player Caleb Williams is, even when things aren't going well. So maybe that can help him. But there's going to be a lot of voices in his ear. And Luther Burden, by the way, is one of those guys that he is a very vocal guy, and that's something that kind of burned him a little bit with his draft stock. So I don't know. I kind of wonder about that. But this offensive line looks a lot more rebuilt. Obviously, they did the second round pick with Ozzie Trapilo, so that can kind of be their insurance. So if like Braxton Jones or Darnell Wright, they find out, or those are still questionable guys within their roster. If they find out that one of those guys just you know isn't as good as they thought they would be this year, then Ozzie Trapilo could step in. But the interior O line's good. Obviously, now the tight end room is one of the best in the league. You got your young quarterback. Running back room's okay, but this receiver room is fantastic and young. So this O line looks a lot better. And I mean, altogether, I like how this roster's built. I just find it so interesting though that I I really I guess the Luther Burden pickup was probably a bifactor of value. It probably was them. I don't think they had any ideas to go get a wide receiver after getting Loveland. My guess is they probably just, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some evidence that I may be wrong, but that the Bears have stated in the past couple of days. But um, no, I think the Luther Burden pick was just pure value. But I do feel like that may have been a situation where you pick up the phone and you start making phone calls and see if you can, bait someone to trade up for Luther. But yeah, interesting pick there. Okay, Yush.
Yeah, I thought overall, like, I think they focused a lot more on value than need. Just kind of looking through this. I mean, you kind of stole what I was going to say about Colston Loveland with how they're going to utilize him. and I'm a big Loveland fan, but now I hate him because he's on the Bears. But
Mhm.
aside from that, I think it was a really solid draft. Loveland, I think, is going to be a really good target uh, for Caleb Williams. It'll be interesting. Maybe they might even go more two tight end sets with both him and Komet. I mean, I mean, Ben Johnson can be creative and just figure out a way to get all his weapons on the field in some way. And the same thing, Luther Burden, like you said, a value pick there, and bringing him in because I guess they kind of needed a receiver with Keenan Allen gone, and he fills in pretty nicely there. Um, I'm looking at this Luke Newman guy, and he just reminds me of Royce Newman, who was absolutely god awful for us. And so I'm getting bad vibes from that pick. But that's just like pure name value again.
Gosh.
Zaw Fraser, I don't know if I'm just like combining him with Tariq Woolen since they both went to UTSA, but Zaw Fraser's like a big like athletic guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I know a little bit about him. So I think that was a really solid pick for him. And UTSA has been kind of turning out some guys recently, low key, which is kind of crazy. But um, that's a really solid pickup there in round 5. And then Kyle Monongai, I remember we talked about him when we were doing scouting a long time ago for running backs, and he was one of the guys that I thought had some really nice potential. I'm not 100% sure how he performed in 2024. Didn't really pay much
He
attention
still
to him,
put up
but
numbers.
he
Yeah.
did. Okay, so I mean, I think that's a really good. I mean, in round 7, I think that's a great pickup. Just seeing how he played, he's really, really smooth in my opinion. And with Swift there, Roshan Johnson, I think he can be a third change of pace, nice
Yeah.
change of pace guy, and especially if one of them goes down, I think he'll fill in and not have a ton of drop off in terms of production there.
Yeah.
So overall, um, solid picks all around. But I mean, I think it was pretty clear that they went value over need for most of the stuff.
I will say with Monungai, by the way, he had more rushing yards, more rushing touchdowns, basically the same yards per attempt, same receiving production. So it's a little bit of a wonder to me why he fell this far and why his
Yeah, it's
stock, even
interesting.
leading up, it felt like it was fading. I think it may be just the fact that running back class was so good, and
Mhm.
he was kind of just like he wasn't someone that you looked at and you were like, oh, this guy's gonna be great. He was someone that you looked at and you're like, oh, this guy could be a good second option at running back for a team. So I think teams were just buying into the fact that you could look at more high reward type guys,
Gotcha. Yeah,
and
that
that's
makes sense.
probably hit him. But Pierce,
Yeah, this Carolina, Chicago team, this was a borderline, like, for me, in terms of the offensive firepower that this team is going to have this next year. I hate to be that to Green Bay fans, but watch out. I would just say that. You have Ben Johnson, who is a mastermind offensively. And you give him
Off-season
pieces like,
warriors.
you give him Colston Loveland, and then you have him a gadget guy like Luther Burden, who could take a jet sweep to the house if he wanted to, or take a hook, a little, stop and take it to the house. I mean, just alone in those first 2 picks, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, we get it, Ben. You want to stack up your offense to make Caleb Williams very comfortable in your offense that you're going to give him. But yeah, the rest. I mean, the Shamar Turner pick, I feel like it can pay dividends for Chicago. Just keep Shamar's head on straight, is what I would say.
yeah,
And Ayush can agree with me. 2 years ago, the guy, freaking, you know, hit a dude below the belt because he was getting teabagged on a play. And then this
Yeah.
past year was getting way too many personal foul penalties because he was doing stuff after the whistle. If he can just keep his head straight, Shamar Turner can be a phenomenal defensive tackle in this team in this league. Overall, I mean, I know we're not going to give grades out, but this was a borderline B plus A minus
Mm,
draft for me for
gotcha.
Chicago because
Yeah.
you know
Okay.
just when you understand what they have as a head coach, he's going to be gutsy, he's going to be ballsy on the football field, and he wants to have the offensive needs to be that kind of reckless, gunslinger type of offense that I've seen from
Yeah.
Detroit. You know,
Yeah, I gave him a B minus. So Pierce, you said you gave him B plus. Ayush, you gave him a
B minus.
okay, gotcha. Really quick, what do you guys think about if we stopped at 8 teams and then did another and did the subsequent episode on a different episode?
We can do that.
We do that.
Yep.
I'm
Okay.
cool with that.
Anyways, Dallas Cowboys, they at number 12, they selected Tyler Booker, Alabama offensive guard, Donovan Nezarocco at 44, Boston College edge rusher Savone Ravel, a junior at East Carolina, cornerback at 76, Jaden Blue, Texas running back at 149, Shamar James, Florida linebacker 152, traded up for that one. Ajani Cornelius, offensive lineman, Oregon at 204. Jay Toya, UCLA, defensive tackle at 217. Phil Maffa, Clemson running back 239. Tommy Aking Besote, Maryland, defensive tackle 247. And then worth noting their pick, I think 112, I want to say. They traded away for Jonathan Mingo midseason. So me and Pierce have had a lot of conversations about this draft, and I really like this draft for Dallas, but I do think it's one where you kind of got to see the rest of the picture before you can make the split second judgment, because I was a little down on the Tyler Booker pick, but not because of the player. The value wasn't too far off. Booker was about 25th on my board. But my issue with it was the value in between there. Like, I had a higher grade on Luther Burden. You had a bigger need at wide receiver. I had a higher grade on actually both of the guys that we got subsequent to Booker, Azaraku and Ravel, and those were both areas of bigger need. So that's why I was a little bit more down on Booker. But let's say in theory, Dallas went out there and they selected Azaraku in the first, they select Booker in the second, and Ravel in the third. My mindset on the Booker pick would have been totally flipped around, but you still get the same players. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that the value of the first pick was a little wonky for me, but the rest, day 2 was one of the more incredible days of drafting I've ever seen from Dallas. So I want to give them credit there, because Ravel was an early second round grade for me, Azaraku a late first round grade for me, Booker a late second round grade for me, and you get all three of those guys. That's pretty, like, all three of those guys are top 25 players on my board. So that means, likely first round type of guys, and you got all three of them in the first 3 rounds of this draft. And then I'll throw out there the fact that I love the fact that Jaden Blue is going to have blue on the back of a Dallas Cowboys jersey. There you go. Ayush, I know your theory.
I'm taking my
about
it works.
last name. It works. So Ayush, does that mean that Jaden Blue is going to be the next Emmitt Smith?
What number did he pick?
Well, I think it's a temporary number, but it's 34. I think that's just because of
Temporary 34.
practice, because of off season.
He's gonna be top 15 at some point in his career. I don't know, or top 10. I don't know about Emmitt Smith level, but top 10 probably.
All right,
maybe maybe a top 3 fantasy season somewhere in there.
Gotcha. All right. Pierce, thoughts?
I mean, you and I have discussed this, I think, within the past week. I think we've discussed, I think, more than like 4 hours of this, or not. I wouldn't say 4 hours is a stretch, but
I don't know, bro. We spent a lot of time talking.
Draft day, we were talking a ton, like especially day 1, day 2, and 3. And then, of course, recently, I really like this draft class. Like, I mean, yes, you had the glaring need of a receiver, because unless Jalen Tolbert decides to wake
if
up
you
one
ask,
morning,
I'll tell you what. If you ask Stephen Jones, though, he will tell you that he drafted a wide receiver at 112 with Jonathan Mingo. I guarantee you right now, if you sat down with Stephen Jones, he would tell you that same exact thing, and he would be like, "I don't want to hear that I didn't draft a wide receiver." Go ahead.
We drafted a 112 from John Mingo.
Yeah.
Sure. But the blue pickup was, I'd say, it was under the radar for me, because I was just sitting there like, okay, we also need a running back because I know dang sure Javante Williams or Javante Williams and Miles Sanders, those aren't going to be the guys. They're going to have to pick somebody late. And hearing that they picked up Blue, oh, like I remember calling you the day the pick happened because like
Yeah.
I screamed. I was driving home. I almost crashed. I'll be real with you. I almost swerved out of my lane. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
hold on. Forgot this kid was still in the draft class because you got a guy that can track level speed and can equal as a receiver in terms of out of the backfield. Um, and then of course day one and two, you got rounds 1 through 3. Ravel pickup I think will turn into one of the most underrated or one of the more underrated pickups of
Yeah.
the draft because
Well,
everyone's
it already is. It already is one of the most. Yeah, but
yeah because people are
it will. Yeah, he would have been. I can confidently say that I thought he was still going to be a first round draft pick with the injury as a factor, but if he had played a full season this past year, he was a first round lock.
100% because
Yeah.
in the limited film you saw Ravel this past year, the guy shadowed a wide receiver in a cover 3 look, and you could see the acceleration as he you know undercut the route, took a pick, picked it off, and
Took
took
it
it
to
to
the
the
house.
house. The guy's got he's long, he's tall. Like that's in terms for me. This is just me going off of A&M type of stuff. If I remember correctly, Mike Elko loves his tall and long corners to be, and fast. You have to be fast in football at corner. But um, the other picks, Tyler Booker replacing. I don't really like the word replacing, but it kind of is when Zach Martin walks away from the game. Um, but yeah, I really like after sleeping on it for a week and a half. The Tyler Booker pick was the right pick to make, I'd say. But again, not at pick 12. You could have easily gone as Raku at 12 and then could have had him at 44 in round 2 and then get Ravel in round 3. But Tyler Booker's bringing, I think he brings a different type of attitude to that offensive line because Zach Martin he was very good. Of course, Hall of Fame, first ballot. But I don't think he's as nasty as
Yeah.
what people are lining up Tyler Booker to be for what I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
Well, he's like. He's a. It matches what we already got too, because Tyler Smith is that type of guy. He's a nasty physical guy. Cooper Beebe, nasty physical guy. Terrence Steele, even though he's not the best player and he's fairly inconsistent, and in the run game, he's a very physical guy who wants to get down and dirty. And
Guyton might need to do the same.
Guyton's a little
But,
bit. Guyton's the kind of the outlier, I'd say.
unless something changes this offseason, you never know. But
Yeah.
I'm looking at film right now. The other fifth rounder, Shamar James, uh, could definitely the linebacker room this year is so deep. Like it's kind of crazy how deep this linebacker room is. Because you got Sanborn, you got Kenneth Murray, you got Overshawn, uh,
Littlefield
Louisville, and now you draft Shamar James
and DeMar Clark.
and Damone Clark. Yeah, honestly, I could say this: Damone Clark might be on the chopping block if Shamar James shows up and
Yeah.
because I'm looking at it, he plays off ball. He's playing off the ball. He's sideline to sideline kind of guy. And you played ball in the best conference in college football. I mean, playing for Florida, playing the SEC, you're going to play against some of the stronger and faster guys in the game. So, I mean, I feel like and in the situation that he's in, Eberflus, defensive coordinator, but he loves his linebackers. He'll develop linebackers like crazy. So if anybody knows how to develop, I mean, I'm standing back and I'm letting Eberflus do his job. But yeah, this is a really good draft class, minus the receiver. But I feel like they're going to address the receiver need, or if not, they're already going to say, well, we already have it. But I'm hearing, the rumors of Amari Cooper, which could happen, but then that could just be Jerry Jones feeding a rumor into the nation of news and just saying, "Yeah, we'll do it, but we're not going to." Well, in the end, they won't. But yeah, I'm very pleased by how this Cowboys team went about and drafted their the future for their for their franchise.
Yeah. Ayush.
Yeah, I mean, like y'all said, the top three picks were absolutely amazing in my opinion. Ravel was a guy that I was thinking about the Packers taking at 22. I mean, Cowboys gone at 76. So, um, I mean, really well done there. Um, Shamar James, you were talking about him for a second, Pierce. I was kind of just looking at his numbers. He was looking terrible in like in coverage,
He
but he's
can't. He
really
can't
good as a
cover. Yeah.
blitzer. Yeah. So I was like, could they be potentially thinking about using him as like a depth edge rusher? I don't really know if he played
Yeah.
off the
A
edge at
depth
all
over
much,
Sean
but
as like a
yeah,
spy.
something like that. So who knows? But the running backs I think were like a really underrated picks in both of them. You kind of get the two different tastes with speed and Jaden Blue, and then like a big dude in Phil Maffa, and that's kind of like how I always love running back rooms to be. Um, I mean, watching Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, and then you see now with Gibbs and David
Yeah.
Montgomery and with the
And that's how it
Bondage,
was with Zeke
So
and Pollard too.
exactly.
Speed and Pollard,
So
Zeke the interior guy.
yeah, I think that's just the perfect way to like run a running back room if you're gonna have a not bell cow, whatever. I'm blanking on the term, but
Running back by
um
committee.
About Cal.
yeah, by
You're running back by
committee, yeah.
committee. You don't want to have the bell
So
cow
if
because that
both
just
Javante
kills
Williams and Miles Sanders don't turn out, because those are both guys that have huge question marks around them, I think both Blue and Maffa can potentially be guys that
Yeah.
can finally take some pressure off the pass game, especially with no receivers taken. Um, I really like those picks there, especially the value with Maffa at 7. I think he had a really good year at Clemson this past year. Um, he had 1,000, didn't he? If I remember
Yeah.
correctly. So I mean, I don't know. He probably won't have 1,000 with the Cowboys, but he's going to put up production. He's gonna put his head down, his shoulder down, and get through some people. So um, I think the running backs are going to be the guys to watch with the Cowboys this season, because I think they might
Yeah.
have the most obvious impact potentially with this team. But overall, I think they did a really good job with addressing needs and getting their guys and addressing value as well with the top three.
Yeah. I'd also note, it just came to mind, but you also got to factor Joe Milton into this because he was they used draft
That's
pick to
true.
be able to go get him. So that just further enhances the quality of this draft. So okay, I gave them an A. Ayush,
I said B plus.
Pierce.
A.
Gotcha. All right, Detroit Lions, and like we said earlier, we're gonna because of time, we're just going to split this in half and resume with the NFC next week, most likely. But so we're gonna do the Lions, Packers, and Rams, and then get out of here. But Lions, pick 28, Tyleik Williams, Ohio State due to tackle, Tate Ratledge, Georgia offensive guard at 57. Isaac Tesla, Arkansas wide receiver at 70. Miles Frazier, LSU offensive guard at 171. Ahmad Hassanin, Boise State edge 196. Dan Jackson, Georgia safety 230. Dominic Lovett, Georgia wide receiver at 244. Tyleik Williams, decent draft pick from, in my opinion. Tate Ratledge, decent pick. Isaac Tesla was a little bit of a reach for me. Day 3, you got a lot of value. I like the Miles Frazier, I like the Ahmad Hesnine picks. You get a lot of exactly what Dan Campbell is all about: physical guys, big, physical, nasty, but high character type guys. Honestly, I'm bumping my grade up. Just now that I think about it more, I'm bumping it up a tiny bit, but yeah, you just build the physicality of this team. You continue to add to that, but Ayush.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to with a team like the Lions. It's hard to pick for guys that are going to immediately contribute. I feel like. I think the only two guys that are in contention to really start are the two guards that they took in Ratledge and Frazier. Um, but outside of that, I feel like it's just guys that are depth pieces. And I mean, I was just kind of really meh about this draft. I mean, Tyleik Williams was a guy that I felt was a little early. Um, I feel like they could have taken another water. Let me see. Let me actually check myself before I.
What was their exact
Um,
compensation to be able to move up for Tesla? Because I forgot that was a thing.
I
Because
think
I think they moved two 2026 picks, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna look that up.
'Cause I don't really love that pick, honestly.
Yeah, that was certainly a reach, but I'm curious about the exact compensation because I don't recall exact. Traded 2/3. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty hefty. Okay,
'cause-
I'm lowering my grade again. We're going back down.
Yeah,
A little
'cause
indecisive.
Jalen Royals is a guy that I like. He was still there. Io Manor was still there on the
Yeah.
board at that time. You know,
And
so
and that's the same
that-
type of flavor of guy as Tesla, or
exactly.
similar type of flavor of a player.
I don't know if they just wanted to make like Elon Musk happy with that pick or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's guys that are just going to be kind of waiting in the wings. So I don't really see anyone outside. Ratledge might start because I'm not sure who their right guard is right now.
No one. Well, Glasgow. I mean, but yeah, I think Routledge is going to start actually.
Yeah, so I mean that was a need, especially with the. I think I talked about the O line getting a lot older in like a past episode, and that was probably one of the needs that I was talking about for them. So they did address that, but outside of that, I just feel like they kind of just took some guys, honestly.
Mm.
Yeah, Pierce.
yeah, Detroit. I think in rounds 1 and 2 addressed some needs that they needed, and then rounds 3 through 7 they just drafted whatever could help possibly make their team better. Because you know, again, the Tesla pick. This is just I know this is like one game of sample size. Tesla gave A&M all they could handle, for what I know. I mean, he took the second play from scrimmage to the house, so I'll leave it at that. But the Tyleik Williams pick, beefed up that defense that's already pretty stellar. I honestly, I mean, pick 28. I feel like you still could have possibly taken a chance at an edge, at a James Pierce if he wasn't there. Um, if it was there still, or a Mike Green. I know it would be
Mizraku.
an Ezraku pickup as well. I feel like Ezraku would have fit marvelously with Detroit. And then of course Tate Ratledge, he'll be starting, I think, at guard for the Lions. But the rest of those picks were adding depth and possibly a replacement. And once James Williams leaves in free agency, that is if they don't extend him or they don't trade him.
Okay, I give him a C plus. Ayush,
I give him a C.
Pierce.
C plus.
Okay. All right. Green Bay Packers. Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas, picked at 23. Anthony Belton, NC State, offensive tackle, picked at 54. Savion Williams, TCU, wide receiver, 87, picked at 87. Baron Terrell, Texas, edge rusher, 124. Colin Oliver, Oklahoma State, edge rusher, linebacker hybrid, pick 159. Warren Brinson, Georgia, defensive tackle, 198. Micah Robinson, Tulane, corner, 237. John Williams, Cincinnati, guard, 250. Ayush, you can spearhead this one. Go ahead.
I really like what we did. I mean, the Packers has always been the type of team to kind of forego value and just take who they like, and that's kind of what they did, in my opinion. And I think they did a really good job of doing it. I mean, Matthew Golden, that pick gave me goosebumps watching that. For the first time since 2002. So that was that. I mean, that was the most aura pick ever. So I'm
And then
excited
he
for what he can
decided
do.
to wear 22.
I mean, he's gonna bring aura to that number. Just watch. Just
Hey,
watch.
Bob Hayes wore 22 when he was at the
But
Cowboys. So
Mm.
exactly.
81 would have
Savion
been
Williams.
so nice on him.
81. I liked how 81 looked too, but I think 2 has like a lot of value to him or like meaning to him. So that's why he decided because Malik Willis has 2, and I guess he didn't want to give it up. But Savion Williams, I also I didn't know much about him, but after seeing all the Packers media putting highlights on him, seeing how he was utilized, kind of Debo Samuel esque. He kind of looks like Julio Jones, just kind of his size, and he has the long dreads and all that, you know. So he's going to be the next big thing.
Hmm.
I'm a little sad that we'll probably lose Watson and Dobbs with the drafting of both of these, but hopefully Dobbs can kind of do his thing this year and hopefully stick around. Belton is really cool. I mean, I didn't remember the name, but I remember the interview that he did with him at the Senior Bowl, and I really liked how he was yapping. So, I mean, a huge dude. It will put some pressure on Rasheed Walker. I think he's going to be a free agent as well after this season. So potential replacement there. The only thing that I didn't really like is the lack of looking for a corner, especially with the question marks with Jair. Um, I heard Michael Robinson is solid. I don't really know a ton about him, but
Hmm.
I've read that he's pretty solid. Just kind of can be an outside guy over Nixon because Nixon can't really play outside. Um, so hopefully there's something that happens on that end. And then the edge rushers. I mean, I think the whole point of our draft was to bring competition to the guys we already have, because it's a lot of young guys that we have in our roster that have maybe not necessarily reached the potential that they could. Uh, Dontavian Wicks, his drop problem kind of puts pressure on him to put up a performance. Um, on the defensive side, Lucas Van Ness has kind of just been stagnant and kind of just has one move. So you bring in 2 edge rushers to kind of put pressure on them. Devontae White we picked up his 5th-year option, but he's kind of been a little mediocre. You put pressure on him. So I think it's just it breeds a lot of competition as a whole for this roster, and I think that's a good thing. It brings a lot more hunger to our roster, especially being young as they are. And I think it'll light a fire under a lot of guys that I think will work out pretty well as for this team.
Yeah, I really like the Belton pick. That's my favorite pick of this draft, or of the Packers draft. Not everyone was thinking 54 would be his territory. I'm proud to say I had a top 50 grade on him when it was all said and done. But I really like that pick right there. You're getting a decent value in my eyes. You get someone who can be, maybe he won't be, but I think he could and maybe even should be a immediate starter. He can move the pile. Good in good as a run blocker, has long arms. He could play guard or tackle. So, yeah, a big fan of Anthony Belton. I'm a little curious at what happens though. I mean, kind of looking forward. I'm kind of curious on when, I mean, in all likelihood, Watson and Dobbs walk after this year. But in terms of the flavors of this receiver room, it's going to kind of get a little weird because I don't think Savion Williams should be used as an X receiver. He is someone that there's almost a full blown conversation for him being a wide or like a running back. In my eyes, he should be used as a slot, like a power slot type of guy, with a lot of schematic variety. And he's not a good route runner. He's not quite as dominant at the catch point as you'd hope. Some drop problems too. So I'm not huge on the concept of him being an X receiver, but it almost feels like inevitable because of how like
Yeah.
of how crowded that room is. So that at least down the road that he will assume the role of X receiver. So unless they have plans on drafting another receiver early next year, but I don't know. But yeah, anyways, it's a decent class. Bring in Baron Sorrell as well in the fourth. That's worth mentioning, and I like that pick as well. So he has the body type that you look for in a edge rusher. So Pierce.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers did. I mean, they finally did what they were, what I felt like they were going to do this year. Hosting the NFL draft, might as well draft a first round receiver and make the fans happy. But yeah, the Matthew Golden pick I think was the cherry on top. I really didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't really pay attention to what Green Bay did after, because I feel like adding a Matthew Golden to that already pretty dynamite wide receiving core for that's flies under the radar for sure because there's not many big names. I mean, yes, you're out with Christian Watkins for the majority of the year because of his Achilles injury, but I feel like Golden can slide right behind him with Dobbs and I'm blanking on the other receiver that gave.
Watson.
Yeah,
Reed.
not the yeah Reed, Reed and Dobbs and him. I feel like can just
Wicks. Yeah.
drama like they could just traumatize uh, defensive backfield secondaries in
Yeah.
this year's draft, this year's season, because you can intertwine all three of them. They can all run the inside. They can all be out split wide and just cause havoc. Uh, Other than that, I mean, I'd say they did pretty well. I mean, I was nothing. No, I feel like bringing in another receiver with Savion Thomas. Like I'm just gonna piggyback off of what y'all are saying. Dobbs and unless Dobbs decides to take a team from the deal and stays, but Savion Williams and Matthew Golden might be in the future at receiver, and Watson might have to go find a new team after the end of this year.
Yeah, I think Watson is, unless he has a huge year this year, I just can't see Watson coming back.
He's out for the
He's
he's
not
out for the
coming back to
majority.
like January too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
actually
yeah.
plays in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no way he comes back then. There,
He's
like
back
I'm
now.
okay.
It's just-
Let me reword. There's no way he gets re-signed then after this year.
Yeah. Teams are probably going to be wanting to look at him and see, it's like, okay, are you fully capable after an Achilles tear to play?
Yeah, I feel like he would almost have to come back from his injury and put up like a 200-yard game like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And, just get all his height.
To boost his stock.
Okay. Grades. I give him a B.
Oh.
Ayush.
I said A-.
Pierce.
B.
All right. Los Angeles Rams. Terrence Ferguson, Oregon tight end at 46. Josiah Stewart, Michigan edge at 90. Jarquez Hunter, Auburn running back at 117. Ty Hamilton, Ohio State defensive tackle at 148. Chris Paul Jr., Ole Miss linebacker 172. Kanata Mumfield, Pittsburgh wide receiver 242. Decent draft. Obviously, the first round pick gets traded away. You get a decent haul in return for that, though. I like the Terrence Ferguson pick. I was big on Terrence Ferguson, another guy I had a top 50 grade on. I like that pick. I like the fit. I think he can make it an immediate impact. And we actually talked about that at the Senior Bowl. I was like, I have a top 50 grade on you. Not a lot of hype has circulated your name around the day one or day two conversation. Why do you think that is? Yada, yada, yada. And he was dead set. He was confident that he should be in that top, that day two, day one conversation. And I agreed with him. And ultimately, it's not up to the media to make these decisions. So the NFL, even though the NFL isn't always the best, it's in terms of drafting, which is odd because it's literally their job. But even though we've seen consistently failed draft selections by the NFL, they came through with this one. So Josiah Stewart, I like that pick as well. Hunter, I like that pick as well. Ty Hamilton, I like that pick as well. Chris Paul Jr., I like that pick as well. Kanata Mumfield, all the way down the board, good value, good picks. And you get the aspect of being able to go pick twice next year unless you decide to trade away, which would make sense because the Rams like to trade away picks. So yeah, Ayush.
Yeah, a lot of echoing just what you said. I think they did a good job of doing what they had. Chris Paul Jr. is probably the only other guy outside of Terrence Ferguson and Jarquez Hunter that I've heard of and seen like a little bit of. And I think 5th round value is really good for him. Jarquez Hunter, honestly might have a hard time cracking. He'll probably be the number 3, and I don't know how much
Yeah.
playing time he'll get, but I feel like he's better than a number 3 running back. Um, but that's just where he ended up. But a good value in the 4th round. I really like them getting a 1st round pick because I think they're going to be looking for a quarterback in next year's draft. So they'll probably be in the mix for that, whether it be
Oh, that's
Nuts
true.
or Alar or things
Hey,
like. I don't know if Arch is
Arch,
going to be. I don't
maybe.
know. Me potentially. Honestly, I don't know if Arch will declare. He might wait till 27, in my opinion.
Why? Why would you say that though?
I don't know. NIL money. Texas is good. He might try
Okay,
to
there
go
you
win a
go. Yeah.
championship, all that kind of
I
stuff.
I don't know. I feel like he'll declare. I think he's going to have a big year. And
That's
he
true.
has the tools around him. So, and if
Yeah,
he has a big year, and then he's going to get all he needs to do is go out there and have a 30 touchdown year, and then he'll be probably
that's true.
first overall pick. So,
Yeah.
Rookies of the
and he
year.
wouldn't turn that down. But I guess it's dependent on if he is as advertised.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, and then same like last year, I remember us talking about how bad this defense was, and they didn't pick super great and all that, and then they came out and were really good. So I'm just kind of trusting the process with their front office with the picks they made defensively with Ty Hamilton and Josiah Stewart, because I honestly don't know a whole lot about them, but um,
Yeah.
I just think they kind of really prepare themselves to be well rounded for the future, for now and the future. Ferguson might end up being the tight end 1 for him because Higby has kind of just regressed
Yeah.
year by year.
Well, and
Um,
injuries for
uh,
him.
Hmm.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean they've done well putting this roster together to stay competitive, and I think
Yeah.
as they go, they'll continue to be great. Next year, I think will be a big year in terms of the draft
Mhm.
with that extra first.
Yeah. Can I also note? It always feels like Howie Roseman gets, and Howie deservedly deserves the hype that he receives as a GM. Less need he gets hype and he gets talked about, but I think that there's some times that we kind of underappreciate how good he is at his job. And I think that this year was another this offseason as a whole was another masterclass for him. And the fact that he was able to take this team he takes his team, goes to a Super Bowl, loses to the Patriots, comes back. He's like, okay, how can we take this team over the hump? Not long later, Matthew Stafford gosh, Matthew Stafford's quarterbacking them to a Super Bowl victory, and then everyone's like, oh, it's all going to fall apart. And then not long later, they're highly competitive in this past year's playoffs, and I think that there was a chance that had they gone down the
Beat the
field and
Eagles.
yeah, and one more Puka Nakua catch away, they may have been bound for maybe even a Super Bowl berth eventually. So, and in my opinion, all they did was get better. Not to mention, there are so many young guys on this defense that are bound to improve. I'm sure one or two of these guys are going to regress to some extent, but I got to believe that we're going to see Byron Young and Jared Verse and Fisk and Kobe Turner potentially take another step forward in their progression. And then on offense, you bring in Devontae Adams to replace a aging Cooper Cup. So I enjoy what they did this offseason. This is a good team. So okay. Pierce, what are your thoughts?
Just to kind of piggyback off of what y'all are saying, I mean, yeah, the Terrence Ferguson pick, I think, is just their contingency plan for when Tyler Higbee, keyword, I'm saying when, because I feel like Higbee is older, more injury prone, that they might let him walk because he is a potential free agent after this year.
Yeah.
Um, so I could definitely see them letting him go, and Terrence Ferguson steps into that role of being the new number 1 tight end for Stafford, and or it may not be just Stafford. It may be because then again, you said like them trading out of the 1st round and gaining another 1st round pick for this upcoming year's draft. I think it's stellar because you've also got other small pieces that are leaving as well at the end of 26. Um, this is just me throwing stuff at the wall right now, but if LA doesn't want to trade their picks, they could eat one of their 1st rounders. They could easily go quarterback in one at 1 pick, and they could easily go with one of the other picks. They could either draft best player available, or they could trade for another, use that and package that with someone else to get another star that's in the league right
Yeah.
now. But one name that I feel like would possibly be dynamite for this LA Rams team in after a year if everything shakes
Nuss?
out. Caleb, a Nuss pick would be good.
I think Nuss would match him pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Klubnik.
For defensive
Oh,
size wise,
go ahead.
I would want them to
Okay.
draft a guy like Caleb Downs to play safety for them.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll be able to get that though.
Exactly.
Like
that's
value
just me
wise,
throwing stuff at the wall.
maybe with the Falcons pick, I guess but I feel like Falcons are gonna be a fringe playoff team.
Yeah.
Maybe
and
I mean they
that's-
can move pieces though, but yeah, he would make
Yeah.
sense for them.
I mean, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall because I feel like Caleb Downs last year was making plays that I feel like a 2-year vet would be making or 3-year vet would be making as a sophomore in college. Like
Yeah.
Downs is that.
And he was
dude.
doing that his freshman year too.
Yeah, he's a dude. He's that dude. And whoever gets him next year is going to be he's going to be a very wealthy man, but also their team's going to win ball games because that kid knows how to play and knows how to win.
Hmm.
But
right.
overall, it's a really good draft by the Rams. You guys have hit it. The GM, he's a mastermind. It's Howie Roseman, and then you got him right here. I'd say in terms of GMs because Lesney can GM a football team, dude. Because I'm sitting here going, okay, when are the Rams going to collapse? When are they going to rebuild? When are they going to hit that big red button to blow the whole thing up and go start from ground zero? They haven't yet since losing the Super Bowl. They've lost Aaron Donald and to retirement and stuff, and Cooper Kupp to free agency, but they're still there. Like they're still going to be one of the top 3 teams in the NFC West, West. So yeah, it's a really good draft class for the Rams.
All right, I gave him B+. Ayush.
I lost it. B+.
Pierce.
B+.
All right, sweet. Yeah, like I said, we can reconnect on a part 2 for the NFC. Hopefully next week. But yeah, thank you for everyone for listening. Glad to be back in the war room. I know we had a lot of plans leading up to the draft for draft content. And situation kind of modified that. So hopefully we can get a head start on the upcoming draft here in a couple of weeks. It's on our plans to be a little bit more vigilant about the draft this year and covering the ins and outs of it. So we'll get a head start on that with summer scouting. Hopefully we have a couple other series planned during the off season. So we'll keep you guys entertained here in the war room. And as always, thank you everyone for listening and tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.